Recording in
Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. There we go. Let everyone get their audio connected here. There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are experiencing here in this moment. Whether you're watching it here live or you're catching the replay. Wonderful. Give you just another moment. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Megan. If you have not met me before, I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I'm very excited to get started on this series. I'll let you know a little bit of what to expect and how this will go. You're welcome to keep your cameras off if that is what's most comfortable for you. And if you ever have any questions or you're wondering if you're doing a posture right or if you're feeling the right thing, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. I am recording this, so just know that you might be on the recording. If you would rather not be on the recording, just wait till after the class is over and you can ask your question and I can cut that out of the recording. I'm happy to stay a little bit after if you have any questions. And today, all we will need is obviously a chair. I'll kind of show you my setup here. I have a chair with no arms, but if you are in a wheelchair, if you don't have a chair that doesn't have arms, that's okay. You might want to try this eventually without or with a chair without arms, just to see how your range of motion differs. I also have a blanket. It's not necessary, but if sitting down is painful and you need a little cushion, it can be really nice. Yoga blankets are usually very heavy. So also towards the end, it can provide some nice weight on the lap, which is very grounding, calming, relaxing to the nervous system. I am going to use a strap, also not necessary. If you have, you can use a hand towel or a necktie, a dog leash, a scarf, if you're in a pinch and don't have a yoga strap, which is fair. I also have 2 yoga blocks, also not necessary, but we will have an option for a seated child's pose, which is a restorative posture that we'll do towards the end of class that blocks might be handy for. You can also use a stack of books or shoe boxes, right? I'm all about using what we have. I also have my feet firmly planted on the ground, so blocks can be really handy if you have shorter legs and you need something to plant your feet on. I also have a yoga bolster, which a great alternative for that is a firm pillow or even a couch cushion. And this can be handy for that child's pose posture. And again, that grounding, that weight on the hips is really nice. And also to just elevate your lap up closer to you. So if you lean forward, it doesn't feel like you're falling over, right? Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is that you're experiencing there. So this is what I have. Please use whatever you have. Don't feel like you need to go out and get a bunch of things, but they're definitely helpful. So gather whatever you need. I also have a glass of water. I do get thirsty from talking a lot. And we'll go ahead and settle in and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're all here. I'm very excited Okay. Again, feel free if you have any questions to, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. If you don't want to be in the recording, then just wait till after class. So if you're ready, go ahead and get in your seat and find a comfortable posture. Go ahead and really settle your awareness into this moment. Let go of the quicksand of the past and let go of all the worries of the future. I'm going to ring a bell, and this is just to help settle your awareness into the present moment. So just simply listen to the bell, and with its vibrations, let it kind of sift your awareness into your body and into this practice. If you're comfortable closing the eyes, feel free to close the eyes. If not, just find a spot on the floor in front of you where your eyes naturally rest, and let your eyelids be heavy. And begin to witness how you are arriving in this moment. Begin to witness how your body feels. How is your mind? Is your mind really busy? Without judgment or criticism. That's one major way of entering into a yoga practice is we are simply observing. We're not judging or criticizing. We're just noticing. It's all information. It's neither good nor bad. And you might take a body scan from head to toe. Maybe begin to shift the weight from side to side, feeling the weight shift from one sit bone to the other. And maybe taking hip walks, picking up one sit bone and scooting it back, then the other, scooting it back, kind of walking the hip bones up and down your chair. So if you look at this pelvis here, it's kind of moving up and back. And if that doesn't feel comfortable or if that feels really challenging in your body, just continue shifting the weight from side to side. Maybe you begin to walk the hips back up and find a spot on the chair that feels just right. Feet are firmly planted on the ground. And begin to imagine flicking the tailbone back, and maybe it actually does. And if you watch this pelvis here, the bowl kind of spills forward. It doesn't have to be this big. I'm exaggerating the movement so you can see. And then a gentle tuck under. If this is painful at all, just make the movement smaller. But this mobility and this movement in the hip is so beneficial for our pelvic health. And eventually letting these get smaller and smaller until you feel like you're sitting on your sit bones. These sit bones here, whenever we sit on them, it provides support for our pelvic organs. I don't have the organs in my model here, but they can rest on the pubic bone. And so this is a neutral pelvis. It looks like it's slightly spilling forward, but it's so slight that you may not even feel this, this kind of gentle forward movement. But think of if you had a tail on your tailbone, you're not sitting on your tail, right? It's able to kind of lay on the chair behind you and reach back. And take a breath here to just notice how this feels. This posture may be a little foreign or new. And so just noticing how this feels in your body. Can you inhale and reach the spine up nice and long, reaching the crown of the head towards the sky? And exhale, relax the shoulders, give them permission to soften away from the ears. Do you notice any tension in the neck or the jaw? Can you softening the forehead, the little muscles around the eyes? And is there any tension in the pelvic floor? Can you soften the pelvic floor? A healthy muscle is one that has full range of motion. And full range of motion meaning it can relax and lengthen, as well as shorten and contract. So before we even think about exercising or contracting the pelvic floor, it's very important that we can find that relaxation and that lengthening. So with this awareness, let's go ahead and set an intention for class. And maybe this is your first time doing yoga, welcome. I like to set an intention for class because intention is everything. Where intention goes, energy flows. And you'll see this throughout the practice. Even as our intention or awareness goes to places in our body, so does blood flow and lymphatic flow. Our brain makes neurological connections. Our nervous system moves to that area and can bring nourishment and healing. And I had a thought, but it's gone. So let's go ahead. You can close your eyes again if they opened, or find that spot on the floor that isn't moving. And maybe your intention is just to find some relief or ease in your body. Or maybe it's to find some self-care that feels available to you and helpful to you. Whatever that is, bring that intention to the forefront of your mind. And I want you to imagine your life with that intention. It's cultivating more of this in your life. So imagine what your life would be like if you had relief from any symptoms, or if you had more comfort in your body. And not only imagining what this would be like for you, how would this be for the people around you, your family, your community? We're going to seal this intention in with 3 centering breaths. As you inhale, you can circle sweep the arms up to any degree that feels okay for you in your body. As you exhale, the palms come to touch and you draw your hands down through the center. 2 more times with your own breath. Inhale. Exhale. It's like you're pulling it in, drawing it down from the mind into the heart space. Last time. And after the third one, I like to gently bow my head in honor of all of our intentions as a collective here that are here today, and for all of those who are watching the replay. You can gently blink your eyes open. And we're going to start with our breath awareness and a little bit of anatomy today. This is a 5-part series. So today we're going to be discussing and exploring the foundations of pelvic health. And the breath is one of them. So we're going to be exploring through our breath. So go ahead and bring your hands to your chest. And this is more of this tactile feedback to give your brain something to connect to. And breathe into your hands. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in through the nose if you can. Fill up. Breathe into the hands. And if you exhale, you can exhale through the nose. Not if you exhale, when you exhale. Or you can exhale through the mouth like you're blowing out a candle or blowing through an imaginary straw. Continue. You can close your eyes if that helps with feeling the breath and focusing on the breath here. The intention is to breathe and touch the inner side ribs, 360 degrees, finding some expansion. Now pay close attention to the sensations in your left lung. And now move your attention to the right lung, observing it with each inhalation and exhalation. And I'll explain this later, but this can be very good information for what's going on in your pelvic floor. And you might already notice if you've picked up tension in your pelvic floor, can you soften and relax it? It likes to subconsciously, we just clench it. And this has been an ingrained movement pattern for most of us for our lives. So it can be a really tough one to consciously come back to it and soften. And that's why we have pelvic floor problems and why it's so prevalent in both men and women today. It's because we've constantly gripped, and now we have very tense pelvic floors. And now move your intention, hands to your belly. The intention is to breathe into your hands and into the belly, moving the breath down a bit deeper. We take about 17,000 breaths a day. And how we breathe is vital to our pelvic health. So how often do you notice how you're breathing throughout the day? It's usually something we do so mindlessly. Notice if one side expands more easily than the other. Can you feel restrictions or tightness in one side more than the other? In the chest or the belly? Can you sense any difference side to side? How far down do you feel the body expand to receive the inhale? Is the belly inflating? Can you feel any movement created by the breath near the pubic bone? Now expand your breath awareness to include the limbs. You can bring your hands to your lap, palms open or closed, down onto the thighs. And can you tell any difference in the effect on your body between the inhale and the exhale? I know this may seem so small. It is very subtle. And I promise with consistency, coming back to this again and again, we kind of start chipping away at our awareness into our feeling sensations. And while you're breathing, I want to show you a little bit of the pelvis here with my model. So you can open your eyes and take a look up at the screen. So here we have a pelvis. And this pelvis has a vagina, so it is a female pelvis. And it almost looks like a butterfly. We're going to find the parts here. We have this iliac crest. You don't have to know these anatomical terms by any means, but I like to share. Information is the first pillar of pelvic floor health. And, we've not learned a lot, at least generally as a culture and society. We haven't been taught a lot about our pelvis and pelvic health. And so I just like to review or go over these areas. So we have our iliac crest, our hip bones, right? And go ahead and take a moment to see if you can feel your own hip bone. You can try to put your thumb in there or maybe pat it and find that bony prominence. If you have a lot of flesh, you can pick up your flesh and see if you can find that ridge. It might be higher than you expected it to be. Our pelvises are really big structures in the body. It's the most stable structure in the body. And it's the center of the musculoskeletal system. If our pelvis is wonky, our entire body is off, our entire upper body, our entire lower body, right? So we have our hip bones, and maybe even found the front hip points, these front hip points right there. And these are things that I will refer to in class. So it's nice to have a good proprioception, awareness to where I'm talking about on your body. And we have our pubis right here in front. It has some cartilage here in front, and it's actually, you might notice it's pretty wide. And usually people refer to this as pubic bone, but it's actually two bones that are connected. And so go ahead, and if you're comfortable, of course, feel that bony prominence on yourself. And it may be difficult sitting in a chair. I have my legs spread really wide. Again, you might have to move some flesh out of the way. But it's nice also, again, that tactile feedback from your hand helps your body, your brain, excuse me, connect to these areas to help you be more aware of the sensations. It can also wake up the muscles so you can feel whether it's even contracting, it's tight, or what is going on in your body. Okay, we have the sacrum. This is the end of the spine that sits in between the pelvis, and it connects by the two SI joints, or sacroiliac joints. And if you've had hip pain or sciatica or anything, then you're probably very familiar with that word already. And then we have the tailbone, or the coccyx. So that's the very tip, the bottom of the sacrum. And welcome. And then we have our two sit bones, or ischial tuberosities. And those are the bony prominences at the seat, which you may feel sitting in your chair, right? You can also kind of lean over to one side, peel the flesh away, and feel that as well. And I do recommend feeling this on your own body the best you can to help with that brain and body connection as we move forward. Okay, so there's the bony pelvis. Continue to breathe. And I want to explain the muscles of the pelvic floor just a little bit. So as we move forward, you have a good visualization to connect to as we explore these muscles in our body and know what a healthy muscle does. So I like to think of the pelvic floor having 3 layers. We have the first layer, which makes a figure-8 shape. It connects to the pubic bone, so in the front. And it makes a figure-8 shape. It wraps around the front genitalia. It connects here at the perineum. The perineum is where all the muscles kind of come together in between the front genitalia and the anus. And then it wraps back around the anus and connects to the tailbone. So it's front to back. Okay. Layer 2 goes side to side. It's connected to the 2 sit bones. So you might see these, it kind of makes this triangle shape, connects to these 2 sit bones. So across. So we have front to back and across. And then we have the deep 3rd layer. Now this layer in my model looks like a hammock, but it's actually domed, and it's actually referred to as a diaphragm. And why the breath is so important, so healing, so helpful for the pelvic floor is because it moves with the respiratory diaphragm. Our breathing diaphragm sits in our low ribs. And breathe with me and visualize this. I'm going to move back to my chair. So As we breathe, that respiratory diaphragm vacuums air into the lungs that moves down into the belly. And same, what moves with it, our pelvic diaphragm begins to expand and create space for the organs to move into, and it stretches open. And on the exhale, everything moves back up into place. So let's take a few breaths and imagine this. Inhale, and maybe even sense a spreading and an opening, a relaxation in the pelvic floor. And an exhale, without any effort from you, everything just settles back and nestles into its place. Take a couple more like that and really focus on relaxing. Remember that a healthy muscle, before we can shorten and contract it, we have to lengthen, soften, and relax it. So let these big full body breaths expand and reach all the way down into the pelvic floor. I like to visualize jellyfish kind of undulating in the water, if that visualization is helpful for you. So let's add in some movement here. With some cat-cow poses. So hands on my knees. And as I inhale, I drag the hands back towards my hips. My elbows reach back. My chest pulls forward. My collarbones get nice and wide, and I pull the chin out of my chest and think about flicking my tailbone back. So broad across the front body. And what's happening here is your sit bones are widening, and you're doing this on the inhale. So there's that stretch and expansion of that second layer. As you exhale, hands slide towards the knees and round through the spine, tuck the chin into the chest. A few more like this. Inhale, open up wide, stretch, reach the elbow tips back broad across the chest. Exhale, hands towards the knees as you kind of lean back, tuck and round like a cat, chin into chest. And you might even notice as you can close your eyes and visualize your spine moving around, your pelvis moving around as you do this. As you inhale into cow, your sit bones spread out wide and kind of flick back behind you. As you exhale, you tuck and round. Maybe that tailbone gently tucks underneath you. And again, if this is painful, make the movement smaller. And you can think about your spine moving like a bicycle chain, segment by segment, as you move through this, finding some fluidity in the spine. Spinal opening is very important also for pelvic health, because when our spine isn't open, it can make our breath smaller. It's really hard to expand when our spine is sticky and stuck. So again, without judgment or criticism, notice any areas in your spine that feel kind of sticky. Maybe you can gently move into those places. Maybe it opens up today or tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll explore spinal opening a little bit more. And begin to make your cat-cow smaller until you sit up nice and tall in that neutral position. Finding some lateral movement in the spine. We'll start small. Let your left shoulder drip down as your right shoulder lifts, thinking of shortening the left side body and lengthening the right side body from the right hip to the right shoulder. It doesn't have to be major. And notice if you're leaning over like this to do this. It's just this, you're still sitting on top of your hips. You're just going to drop that shoulder. Okay. And exhale, move back to center. Inhale. Exhale, right shoulder down to right hip. Back to center. Exhale, other side. And if this feels good, maybe the movement gets a little bit bigger. You can add your hands in, gliding the shorter side forward and the longer side back. Exhale. Inhale back up to center. Exhale. One more time each side. And coming back up to center, we're going to add all of those pieces together. So think cat cow front and back, side bends side to side with barrel rolls. So inhale to find your cow spine, hands come back, elbows reach back, broad across the chest, flick the tailbone out, chin out of the chest. And as you exhale, go ahead and bring the rib cage over to the right, like you're bumping a wall with the rib cage on the right side. Keep going, cat spine to the back, reaching it over to the left, bump with the left rib cage and the chest forward. Now connect all the pieces, make it nice and fluid. Again, you might notice the pressure shifting on your sit bones as your torso moves. You might notice any sticky bits in the spine. Maybe one side or one area feels a little more constricted. Again, this is all information. It's not good nor bad. You don't need to judge or criticize. Begin to circle the other direction. Really trying to articulate through the spine. And sometimes it's just the shoulders over the hips. That's a great place to start. If you're just now kind of exploring the spinal mobility, this can be a big opening for some people. So being gentle with yourself wherever you're at. And then find center, find that neutral spine. Before we move on, take a moment to notice how your body feels. Notice if you feel more space. Does the breath feel more easeful, more spacious? Does your posture sitting up just feel more easeful after opening up through the spine? Or maybe it's awakened some things, some muscles, and you moved into some areas that you haven't moved into in a while. And you're not sure how it feels. That's fair. That's okay too. You are allowed to feel whatever you're feeling right now. So we're going to move into mobilizing that movement, that cat-cow a little bit more. I like to have my feet nice and wide so I make space for my body. It also helps me find space in the pelvic floor. And I'm going to bring my feet just forward of my knees. So if I bend over, I don't feel like I'm falling forward. I'm nice and stable. Now I'm going to bring my forearms to my thighs. If you have a long torso and short arms, that can feel really deep. And we want to make sure you still have space in the spine. So this is where a pillow or a couch cushion could be really handy to bring your thighs up closer to you. So I'm just going to lay it across my lap like that and then bring my forearms down. And this feels so much better. I can still breathe and find that deep full body breath here. My forearms are on my thighs. And as I inhale, same cow sensation, I'm going to pull my chest through, lift my chin, flick my tailbone back. Broad and wide to the sit bones. Let it stretch open and relax. And as I exhale, I'm going to tuck and round. Maybe a gentle push of the forearms into the bolster or the thighs. And just move through this and notice any differences, or if you can get into spaces in this posture, in this position, that maybe you couldn't get into just sitting up. Pairing it with the breath, inhale as cow, broad across the collarbones. Exhale, tuck and round, cat. And again, if this is painful at all, make it smaller. And we will get into pelvic contractions and how to strengthen the muscles if you have laxity, if you know you have laxity, prolapse, things like that. But you could also have really tense muscles and still have a prolapse and incontinence. So it's really important to do this kind of self observation to know, unless you've had a doctor already let you know where you're at. But it's usually a mix of both, which can be the more frustrating thing, right? All right, we're going to add on here. From here, we're going to add a gentle twist. And so what that's going to look like, you can start in cow. So bring your shoulder blades wide. Your arms are finding traction on your thighs, your bolster to tug backwards. They're not moving, but it's just that gentle traction to get that extra little lift. And as you exhale, I'm going to start with my right hand. I'm going to reach, my arm is going to move back, elbow moves back as my shoulder moves back. And maybe my gaze follows, if that feels okay, on my neck. Okay, we'll start with that, coming back through center. And on the exhale, moving the other arm back, shoulder moves back, gentle twist. Feel the shoulders kind of open up to the side. Maybe the gaze looks back over the shoulder. Inhale back through center. Exhale, other side. Twisting, you might feel the twist coming from the core. Inhale back through center. Exhale, twisting. One more time each side. Remember to use your breath. Find your breath. Option to continue doing that, or maybe you add in the arm. So as I move through the right side, almost like a swimming arm, I'm going to reach that arm back and notice how that feels to open it up and reach it back behind me. Slowly rainbow it forward, bringing the forearm back to the bolster or the thigh. Other arm, reach the arm back, slowly sweeping it forward, and notice how that feels to open up. And this can be as big or as small as what feels okay in your body. What I love about pelvic floor yoga is usually people come to it because of a new awareness of their pelvic floor. And usually that awareness has come to them through pain or dysfunction of some sort, incontinence, whatever it may be. And what I love is that they come and they end up getting so many other benefits, not only healing their pelvic floor, but finding a lot of other great things as well. Go ahead and come through center, sit up for a moment, just to notice how the body feels, how it's responding to that movement, how it's responding to your breath and breathing in a mindful way. Notice if you're holding on to any unnecessary tension in the body and in the pelvic floor. Again, can you relax and soften? Let go. And I know that that might be a scary feeling if you're dealing with prolapse or incontinence or anything else. But again, a healthy muscle has to be able to relax and lengthen in order for it to contract properly how we want it to. If it's always tight, if I was trying to exercise my bicep, but it's always contracted in this short position, then I can't even strengthen it because it's stuck here, right? So we want to be able to lengthen and soften, relax it so that we can properly exercise it. Okay, we're going to add a little side bend to our twist. So bring the forearms back down onto the lap or the bolster. And this time, as you take your swimmer's arm back, begin to reach it up and over your head. So a little side bend. Breathe as if you could breathe through that right lung, maybe even place your hand on that rib cage. So getting long from that right hip all the way up through the right shoulder, the right fingertips. One more big breath. Exhale, release, come down through center. Maybe even notice the difference between the right side and the left side. Okay, other side, left elbow reaches back, gentle twist. Reach that swimmer's arm back and around, and then it comes up and over the ear. Breathe into the left lung, reach through the fingertips, finding length from the left hip all the way out through those digits. Breathe, release, another big breath in, and relax. Bring the arms down. Okay, awesome. You can come and sit up. Remove the bolster. If you need to find any other fidgets or movements here, if sitting down for a long time, my chair is pretty firm. I'm now going to put the blanket underneath my seat. And next, we're going to do a little self-inventory here of our pelvic floor, and we will continue to come back to this throughout the series and see if we notice any differences. So like I said, when we breathe in, our pelvic floor also begins to expand and open, making room for the organs and everything to move down. That's its job. That's what it wants to do. And as it exhales, as we exhale, it naturally finds a gentle dome and comes right back into place. So there are a few ways you can do this for this exercise. It's called a resisted breath exercise, and we're going to check in with that perineum, which again, just to remind you, the perineum is the connective tissue right here in front of the anus and behind the front genitalia. So you can just visualize if that's what's most comfortable. You can use a strap or a washcloth. This is where I said you can use a washcloth or that tie or whatever. And I'm just going to I'm going to round it, curl it up into a little bolster. It's like an inch and a half in diameter there. And this is adjustable. If it's too much, you can make it less. If it's not enough and you don't feel anything, you can make it more. And same with a towel, if you kind of fold a corner in and continue to fold it. And what you want to do is place it right underneath the perineum. So you might have to find it, right? So kind of right behind the vaginal opening, or for a male, that is behind the scrotum. And then place your bolster, your little bolster there. And this can also be done with your hand, which I highly recommend because you can get that feedback from your hand, what's happening. So again, whatever you're most comfortable with, what's great is that you're at home. I've done this in my live classes. So we've gotten very vulnerable in my live classes. And so I like to use my hand, find them with my fingers, just so I can feel also from my hand what's happening. But using a strap or something like that expands your awareness of what you're feeling in your pelvic floor, which is also very valuable. So sit up nice and straight, nice and tall, reaching through the crown of the head, and begin to visualize that deep belly breath. As you inhale, you're vacuuming air into the lungs. That respiratory diaphragm moves down. Relax, soften through the pelvic floor. Let it expand. Notice if you feel that expansion. Exhale. Maybe place one hand on your belly. Give yourself something to breathe into. Breathe into your hand. And exhale. One more like this. And exhale, release. So now we're going to try something a little different. As you exhale, so go ahead and inhale into the belly, your hand onto the belly. And exhale, pull your belly away from the hand. So you're pulling the belly in. And try to keep this little engagement here. And so this is a resisted breath. So as you inhale, you're going to it's going to try to fight against that belly, but the belly is going to contract and resist the inflation. So that might send more pressure down into the perineum for you to feel something. So it's like you're trying to breathe into your belly hand, but you're contracting those muscles and you're going to send the pressure elsewhere. So try that as you exhale, then inhale. Do that a few times. And release. Awesome. You can remove the strap, the hand, whatever you have. You can kind of walk your legs back together to a more comfortable position. And you might take note of what that experience was like. So next time you come, there's 4 more days in this series, and we'll explore that each time and maybe add in some contraction if that's what you need. It may not be what everybody needs. And so we'll explore that carefully together. But it's always fun to see progress and to have these aha moments and like, wow, oh my gosh, I feel what's going on, and wow, I'm tight on this side, but I'm loose on this side. And that's information. We can work with that and move towards healing. So let's go ahead and begin to wind down our session for today. And we'll start with a little self-massage. Who doesn't love a little self-massage? We're going to start with the jaw. So you can take your thumbs or your pointer and middle finger and just begin to massage. I'm going to come a little closer so you can see me. And massage that big jaw muscle right here. And maybe it's just a gentle press in and hold. Maybe you open the jaw and close. And we're massaging the jaw because if we hold tension in the jaw, then we're also holding tension in the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor and the jaw are connected through a myofascial meridian line. It's actually really cool. So if we clench our teeth or grind our teeth or just carry a lot of tension here, you can bet that you're also carrying a lot of tension in your pelvic floor. So just continue exploring this, opening wide as you can. Maybe moving the jaw around if that feels okay. And once we can relax through the jaw, it makes it a lot easier to relax through the pelvic floor. And also your ears, you can grab by the tops of your ears, gentle massage and pull. And keep taking nice, smooth, easy breaths. Pulling the lobes down and away and out, and then maybe opening the jaw. You can stick the tongue out. That's a big muscle that we don't relax very often, right? We're always talking and eating and swallowing. And now we're going to do gentle taps. And this is good for blood flow and lymphatic flow, which is good for healing. And we're going to start at the top of our head with gentle finger taps, like a pitter patter of rain on our scalps. And you can close your eyes and just notice how this feels. Let it feel nice. Let it feel good. And you can come down onto the forehead, sides of the face, under the eyes. Gentle taps, the jaw, coming down onto the neck, reaching where you can. And as you come down through the chest and the shoulders, maybe they turn into little pats with the hands or little fists. You want to get under the arm here. This is a big place for lymphatic movement, going down the arm, the shoulders, all sides. And just get everywhere the best you can, down the other arm. And follow it with your mind, like your awareness or your mind is like a flashlight on these areas as you do this. And your belly, being gentle. And the back is tricky, but just get what you can. And the hips. Bring that blood flow in. Your thighs, get the tops. Maybe the pounds get a little bit heavier here, if it feels okay. And the bottoms. Pat down the thighs, the calves, the legs. If that's a hard reach, maybe you can pull that thigh up, or maybe you can either prop it up on a table in front of you. I have blocks, so that helps me. Maybe you can even cross it over the other thigh and get your foot. Okay, and these are all options, whatever works best for you. Other leg. Okay, and then begin to work back up to your head. And then it's gentle pitter patter fingertips on the face. Gentle, gentle, gentle. When you're done, hands come back to your lap. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable, or find a spot on the floor to stare at with your eyelids heavy. Take a nice big breath in through the nose. Big exhale out. Two more of those. Big inhale. Let it go. One more time. Inhale. Let it go. Take a moment here with your eyes closed just to notice how you feel. Notice how your body is responding to the movement. Maybe another body scan like we started class with, noticing any tensions or any places of ease or spaciousness that may not have been there before. And I usually like to end my class with a moment in a seated child's pose or Tadasana. I will show you both options. With a seated child's pose, if you don't have these props, again, please don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. I like to stack my blocks. I'm basically going to build a tower for me to lean forward on. So I then stack my bolster or my giant pillow or couch cushion. And I'm going to put them in between my thighs so I can relax my forearms on my thighs. And I want to bring this to my forehead. So I'm still want this, even though I can crunch over and put my forehead on that, I still want it a little higher. So maybe I'll bring my blanket, maybe even another pillow, but I want to be able to relax my forehead onto my tower. And having our forehead rest on something is very calming for the nervous system. It's very important that we calm our nervous system to allow our body to heal and kind of restore itself. If you don't have those props, no worries. Find a nice comfortable seat seated all the way back so your back can rest on the back of the chair. I like to have something nice and heavy, a heavy blanket on my lap. It's just very grounding. That weight is very comforting, again, calming to the nervous system. And I just rest my forearms on that to take a few breaths. And here I like to remember my intention, my reason for showing up today. I notice how I feel once again. Just taking a couple minutes to kind of integrate, letting your body and your mind integrate the class, integrate the movement, what you may have learned, and trying to soften and relax, letting the little muscles around the eyes soften. Relax the jaw. Maybe let the bottom jaw separate from the top jaw. Let the tongue be wide across the palate of the mouth. Soften the sides of the neck. Let go of the belly. We so often subconsciously suck in the belly. Can you just let it go? Let it hang out. Let it have space. Taking intentional time out like this is so good for us. Go ahead and bring your hands anywhere you feel connected to yourself, and maybe that's right here where you are, or even hovering somewhere. You can give yourself a gentle hug, whatever feels comfortable in your body. And send yourself a mental note of gratitude for showing up today, for showing up for yourself and taking this time. Again, remembering your intention and not only how this impacts you, but this impacts your family, your community, the people you're around. Your health matters. I like to end my classes with my hands towards the earth in gratitude towards the earth for air, water, food, its beauty. I then like to join my palms, reaching them up, gratitude towards the great mystery or whatever it is that you would like to express gratitude for. I bring my hands to my forehead in gratitude for my ancestors, my teachers, and all those who have come before me. Gratitude for the teachings and traditions of yoga. And then I bring my hand to my heart. Gratitude for yourself for having a body, gratitude for each other, gratitude for all of you who are here today and for all of you who are watching the replay, gratitude for our families and our communities. And then I like to bow in gratitude to all. Awesome, awesome work today. Keep it up. Again, this is the first day out of 5. I will hang out a little bit. If you have any questions or have anything that you would like to share, I obviously love to hear it. And I hope to see you all again tomorrow. If you have to go, the class is over. Thank you so much for being here.